This is Uncle Stu. Now hear how a black man loves a woman through a heartache, pain, and one of the most tragic things that can ever happen to a mother.
I felt that this conversation shifted, that I don't need to narrate it. It's
Okay.
time for the women to talk.
Wow.
So,
All right.
to everybody in the chat, this is Brown Eyes.
Hi, brown eyes.
Hi.
This
Hello.
is
Hello.
the one that
Hi.
just came from a very still dealing. And it's time for Uncle Stu to step to the back because she's the only one that can deal with this conversation and tell her story, tell her narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So, might be Uncle Stu's platform, but guess what? We're gonna let her rock and roll.
I'm the CEO.
She said she the CEO, y'all. Don't be having Ace and Big Bad Bull come after me talking about awesome simp. Hey Bull, I'm still the
Oh,
alpha
not
dog in here,
that.
Bull.
There you go.
Not that. Not
Ace,
that.
Well,
I'm
thank
still
you
the
for
alpha,
joining us.
Ace.
Yes, yes. Thank you
Thank you for
for
joining
being here, brown
us.
eyes.
And, this conversation, I wanted to mostly speak about loving someone, particularly as spouses, not just loving your mom, where the world can understand that duty a little bit, probably more easy because
Mm-hmm.
we feel a duty to our parents.
Right.
But in particular, I wanted to speak very clearly about loving a man
Hmm.
through a healthcare crisis or through difficult healthcare situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you want to go ahead, Miss T, Anna, and Ms. Brown Eyes, and share a little bit about your situation and how you feel about this subject.
So for me, um, and I'm not gonna be on as long as Uncle Stu thinks I'm gonna be on. Um, it was so I was caregiver for my mom and my stepfather. I lost my mom last year when she had a major seizure. Um, right outside my apartment door. Never even made it inside. It was like the hottest day. Heat stroke. The air conditioning quit working. Trying to
Mm-hmm.
get my parents to my house to a safer place. She had a stroke, or excuse me, not a stroke, a seizure. I'm sorry, seizure. None of us thought that she, when the ambulance left, none of us thought she wouldn't come home. Um, so being a caregiver then, and then with my son and all of his struggles that he's had in the last 5 years, um, loving him through that, um, getting him through the things that we got him through. Thank you. Thank you, baby. The things that we got him through. When this happened last month, it was a shock. It Nobody saw it coming, and with all that said, I'm trying not to cry too much, but
It's okay. Yeah,
Uncle
we got you.
Stu has been fantastic um, through it because I've been the caregiver, and before him, it was just me caring for myself, being the caregiver. But with him, it's been him helping care for me as the caregiver. And then when the person that you're caring for is no longer with you, you don't know what to do with those emotions. Um, you don't know what to do with those emotions.
Mm.
I still don't know what to do with those emotions some days. It's this weekend will be a month and it just doesn't seem like it. But um he's been so good. So loving him and having him love me and my son that's behind us, when it passed away, and then my other son, who's 23. So having him in the relationship that he had with my boys, um, is fantastic and it's phenomenal. And I love that about him and um everything that um he has done to help me get through this because It's an unimaginable, um, unimaginable feeling. It is, and I love him to death for everything that he's done. He's let me take my time. He's let me cry. He's let me yell. He's let me sleep with a stuffed animal that the kids gave me. For days on end, I just slept with the stuffed animal, just because it reminded me of my son. Putting pictures up in our house and everything, and just being there when most people don't know what it feels like to lose a child, um, especially one that had a life, that was living life. That one day they were here, and literally the next day they're not. Um, and he has been there and cared for me and loved me through it. And he's still doing it because I have moments. I had one, went back to work. So I had one today, just in talking to my younger son, because he was having a bad day. This is his brother. So I had a moment. So I texted him, he called me, to make sure I was okay and everything. And just the way that he's been caring for me and my son and my family has been phenomenal. It's hard for him. I know it's hard for him because he doesn't know what to say, doesn't know what to do. Who does? Honestly, who does? It's even for myself, just dealing with my parents before. Sometimes I didn't know what to say or didn't know what to do. I'm not a medical professional, although I do say in my next life, because I've learned so much about the conditions that my mother had, and then my son's type 1 diabetes, which was only diagnosed 5 years ago, when he was 23, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I've been doing that so much since this happened. My brain
It's
is
okay.
just
It's
I just lose
okay.
my thoughts.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sometimes
We'll
I
be
don't even
here
know where I
with
was going with
you.
that. I'm sorry. I don't even remember where I was going with that. I think I was probably talking about Uncle Stu and just what he's been to me and to the family. Um, a lot of the family, because of COVID and things, it was the first time that he met them in person. Unfortunately, for that situation. But these were people they spoke to on the phone all the time, so they had a relationship. So he was able to still do, and he's been able to pull me out of, or just get me off of the phone or whatever it was, if I'm having an emotional moment or anything. And I'm just like, he saw when I needed to stop when I didn't see it. And as a caregiver, that's something that I, in hindsight, appreciate, because I thought I should talk to people, I should do this, if they call me, every time the phone rings or whatever. Um, but there were times I just couldn't handle it. And he saw that, and he took over, and he made sure I was okay before anybody that wanted to talk to me or whatever. He was just like, okay, she can't handle it right now. And I love him so much for that, because I probably would have driven myself crazy if I had continued down that same path. And it's just been, it's been good for me, but it's also been good for my younger son, because my boys shared an apartment. So my older son died at home, and thankfully my younger son was not the one that found them. My ex-husband found them. So my younger son, I don't think he could have survived that. But he's still having a hard time, like, we all are. And at 23, he has realized within himself that he needs to go to counseling to deal with his grief, to deal with his emotions, to deal with his anger. about everything that happened, with his brother. Um, and I'm grateful for that because I know that I'm doing it too. So it's not a. I know in our community there's a huge stereotype about seeking help sometimes, African American community about seeking help, about seeking professional help, talking to therapists, counselors, and things like that. And if that's what you need, that's what you need. And there's nothing wrong with it. Um, Sometimes talking to someone that's outside that doesn't know you is a beautiful thing because I can tell you my conversation that I had with Candy Ann when she called did my heart so good because one, she is a medical professional, and so she could identify and relate to some of the things that I was talking about with him, and it just it was a great thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with us as a community seeking that help. I think it needs to be normalized a lot more than it actually is. Because I can say my son started therapy probably was it August? Probably August. He started going speaking to somebody because of just his issues with the diabetes, um, the stomach condition that he had, just every time there was something else. So he actually started talking to someone. Um, Uncle Sue was a catalyst for that as well. Um, he saw some of the things that my son was going through, um, and talked to him and didn't push because you can't push somebody into doing it, but just suggested and helped. And he eventually did decide to go to speak to someone. He did it virtually. And he told us afterwards that he really appreciated it because it helped him so very much to be able to do that. And I'm glad. I gotta remember to call you Uncle Stu. I know his first name.
Right. So funny.
And Stu is not what it is.
Right.
So, he was a huge help in getting him because I had been trying to tell him, you need to talk to someone. You need to talk to someone because it's a lot in the last 5 years that he had been through. We almost lost him a couple of times before. He went from literally 500 pounds when he was diagnosed to when he left us, he was like 150 pounds without surgery, without medical intervention at all. So, I knew he needed to speak to somebody, and he finally did relent to that. And I'm glad that that was one of the things that he was able to do before he left us, just to know he had some peace of mind. So that caregiving, not just for me, but for my son from Uncle Stu, has just been amazing. And that's
Thank
and I have to
you.
say also from this YouTube family. No, said it before, and I absolutely, positively mean it. The fact that this YouTube family reached out to me, somebody that you only saw me in his chat moderating, and you guys didn't know who I was because, like, you guys follow each other around in a click in a circle, and everybody's channel and pages and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then here was me, somebody you guys didn't know, and you guys reached out to him and wanted to speak to me and wanted to check in on me. In the emails and the people on Instagram and YouTube. Um, it was so heartwarming for me for that because perfect strangers, not knowing what it's like, what I'm going through, but still reaching out to me to make sure that I'm okay. I mean, he's okay, but also that I'm okay. And I just never thought that something like that would happen with, especially on YouTube, where we see each other just because we're on the screen.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and just have that connection with people, and people are still checking in even afterwards. It's a great thing, and I really appreciate everyone um, for that. So I keep looking at Melissa. I'm gonna laugh again. I keep looking at Melissa because I'm like, okay, I have a triplet now because I already have a identical twin sister as it is.
Yeah.
I already have an identical twin sister as it is. So then, so then when I saw Melissa, I was like, oh, she's got her hair braided too. So I'm like, okay, so now I have another sister.
You have
one-
another sister.
another one that looks just like me.
No. Husband's a vet. I'm a vet. We vets.
That have to do with the hair.
Melissa, we vets.
You know,
the elite club now.
Sometimes,
You know,
sidebar,
on a military base.
racist sidebar.
men, especially this one, he can have conversations, and I'm like, what are we talking about?
Right.
Because just those lips come out the side of his face sometimes.
You're hilarious.
What are we talking about? I'm sorry, sidebar, but yeah, he's just crazy.
You're fine.
I just wanted to say all of that, and just jump in the conversation a little bit.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you, because we normally don't see you. I've seen you in the chat.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I feel like, there is a narrative. Is that the right word? I'm not exactly sure, that we are strong Black women, independent, and I'm strong. And I can also tell you that coming from a Caribbean background, there's a lot of pride that my family, I could just speak about my Caribbean background, that we take in being strong. And oftentimes when we need help, we don't ask for help, or we lash out to the very people that we love because we're so frustrated and holding everything inside, And so I thank you for sharing your story. And, I just want to reiterate how important it was to have a Black man in your life.
Yep.
Because it is so important to have a Black man that truly loves you, cares for you. And so this is some of the things that I want to talk about as we talk about candid conversations and we talk about love and relationships. These are the nuances about having a real relationship. And so I thank you for sharing that. Yeah.